Welcome to the inaugural episode of Dr. Nick's WellPAD Chronicles. So what I want to do with these is I'll be kind of breaking down really simple anatomy and physiology concepts for you to understand. I'm an educator at heart, so of course it's super important for me to help others understand what's happening in their body, because guess what? We all have a body, right? So today we are going to discuss blood pressure, right? Blood pressure. And I'll tell you this, in my years of seeing patients, I realize that most people have no clue of what blood pressure is or what it means, right? They just know that if it's high, then it's bad. So I've always been a proponent of educating my patients and now my clients. So today we are going to review blood pressure in just a few minutes, right? So the question on deck is, how does it work and what does it mean, right? How does it work and what does it mean? Okay, y'all, pardon my handwriting. All right, so in the most basic terms, um, when your heart beats, and we'll just do the heart this way because I'm not going to draw an actual heart. My drawing skills are a work in progress. All right, so when your heart beats, it pumps blood throughout your body, right? Supplying it with, we'll just kind of use that, supplying your body with oxygen, right? And energy and nutrients, right? So it's giving the body all this good stuff, all the energy it needs. And as your blood moves, it pushes against the sides of your blood vessels. And the strength of this pushing is what is known as your blood pressure. Okay, so when your doctor takes your blood pressure, it's expressed as a measurement with two numbers, right? So there are two numbers here, and it's also expressed as a fraction. Okay, so go back to like your elementary days of math. Okay, so with the top number being your systolic number, and the bottom number being your diastolic number, right? So think the average normal blood pressure that we'd advise is 120/80. Pretty sure you hear that, right? So that's what it would look like. The unit we use is millimeters of mercury. You don't really need to know that, but there you have it. All right, so systolic blood pressure, that top number, that's going to measure the force your heart exerts on the walls of your arteries. So think here, and then we're going to, this is going to be my version of an artery, right? So it's the force exerted on the walls of your artery each time it beats or when it contracts, right? When it's pushing that blood out to all the different parts of your body, right? Okay. Now, the diastolic number, and this is the top number. Okay, so this is going to be our systolic or our top number. The bottom number, okay, is going to refer to the force your heart exerts on the walls of those arteries again. So same place, okay? The force exerts on the walls of your arteries in between beats. So this is in between beats when it's relaxing. So it's kind of like when that blood is coming back in, right? That filling, okay? And this is going to be our diastolic, okay? Or our bottom number, right? So think about it like this. If we're using kind of a graphical analysis, right? Think this is the heartbeat. So think this is your systolic, okay? It's contracting. And think this is your rest period or your diastolic. Okay, all right. So this is your contraction and this is your filling. Okay, top number, bottom number. Okay, now here's the thing. When fatty cholesterol and calcium deposits build up in the arteries as plaque, so if I were to draw a larger artery here, okay, and when we get like this build up here on the walls, that force, okay, is increased. significantly. It narrows the artery, causing what we call atherosclerosis. And this in turn increases that pressure on the inside. Think about a water hose that's partially kinked, right? You know, if you kink the end, the water comes out really, really fast with a much, much, much higher velocity. Well, that's exactly what happens when we get this plaquing or this buildup from not eating the right things, from not exercising, not hydrating, from all those things. When we get this buildup and we narrow these arteries, that pressure is going to increase. Okay. And it's almost like trying to drink from a fire hydrant. Doesn't really work out that well because it's too much coming at you, right? So, this is your blood pressure. Now, let's just talk about numbers because, of course, that is what is important. So, typically, normal is going to be less than 120 and less than 80. This is going to be your normal. Now, it can't be too much less than that because there is a such thing as having pressure that's too low. We call that hypotensive as opposed to pressure too high is hypertensive. Okay, but this is normal. This is where you want to be, nice and happy, right? There is a such thing as when it's elevated. So that's more of your 120 to 129 over your 80 to 89. And we call this just elevated. That means you are at risk for developing hypertension later. Okay. Right. So it's kind of like if you don't start doing some things, you're going to develop it later on. Okay. Not really where we want to be. Maybe like a little bit, but not really where we want to be. Okay. And then we've got if you are 130, greater than 130 to greater than 89. This is our stage 1 hypertension. If we have greater than 140, excuse me, greater than 90, this is our stage 2 hypertension. And where you don't ever want to be is greater than 180 over greater than 120. And this is what we call a hypertensive crisis. If you are ever here, then you call 911 immediately. Okay? Immediately. All right? But this is where we do not want to be, for sure. Okay? These other ones, yeah, not great. But this one is definitely not great. All right? So strive for here, never here. But what's the big takeaway? The big takeaway is you've got to know your numbers. And the only way you're going to do that is by taking your blood pressure. So go grab a cuff from a drugstore and let's do it. All right, so that's been our lesson for today, blood pressure. I hope you learned something, and I will see you again next week. Toodles.